Bryan, listen to me. Friends, Bryan here, standing out in the cold again. You guys like it when I'm in the cold? If you thought my video the other day when I was out on the water was cold, let me tell you something. As I've said in another video, when I turned 50, it was a very profound time. I'm 51 now. One of the things that really hit me was time. I'm like, oh man, like my time's on the lowdown now. It's kind of running out. Just like in that soap opera, Through the Sands of Time, so is the sand through the hourglass. But one of the things that took me a long time to deal with is just my sense of like looking back going, you dumbass. All the regrets, looking back at all the stupid things. And I thought recently about, if I could go back to when I was a teenager, what would I tell myself? And, I think a lot of you can probably relate to this. So let me know what you think down below. Number 10, Bryan, when you start working when you're a teenager, any job you've ever had, anytime you've been paid, put 5% away in another account and never touch it until you're 50. What do I mean by that? What I mean is 5% of a pay, you're not going to miss anyway. And of course, it will slowly add up. Maybe get a little bit of interest, not with the rates at the banks right now. But we have a tendency, in life, some of us, we spend money on really stupid shit. Stuff we don't need, stuff that we realize later on it's not important. A lot of times we end up selling it at a loss. That's not good business. It's not good money. But that's one of my things is saying, hey, 5%, just put it away until you're 50. Number 9, people will come and go from your life as you might come and go from theirs. One of the things, sometimes we'll have people come and go in our lives through different social settings, social circles, and they come and go and we don't really know why, but I think we do that to other people as well. And I could get into this for another topic about what constitutes a really good friend or what makes a really good friend. For me, a good friend would be someone that even if we don't talk for a few years, we can go for a bite to eat and just chat and catch up as if nothing ever happened. But since I'm the guy that avoids people, I don't do that very often anymore. But people will come and go from your life, and sometimes it's not something to take personal, it's just something we do as humans. Bryan, listen to me. Enjoy being young, focus on you, focus on your goals, and just enjoy being young. Friends, I think we all know that getting into relationships, you have to give a lot of yourself, a lot of your energy, a lot of your emotional energy, a lot of your time. There's some sacrifice involved. I'm not saying that there's nothing good in return, but if I could go back and talk to my young teenager self, I'd say, hey man, I would just stay out of relationships and just focus on you and the stuff you want to do. And then when you're a little older, maybe think about it, but not when you're young. I think a lot of you will probably agree with me on this, as because I know from previous videos I've made, for most of us in our 50s, past relationships make up some of our biggest regrets. Bryan, not everyone's going to like you, no matter how nice, kind, or generous you've been to them. Not everyone in life is going to like you, no matter what. It's kind of like when I tell people who are starting a YouTube channel, you can't make everyone happy. I know, and I'm sure you have experienced many times throughout your life, where there's been someone come into your life and you've been nothing but good, perhaps really generous and kind to them. And then it gets back to you, usually secondhand or indirectly, that they don't like you and they have a whole bunch of problems with you, or there's all kinds of things about you that they're trying to make into a problem, and you're scratching your head going, what the hell did I ever do to that person? Friends, not everyone's going to like you. It is what it is. But as Keanu Reeves would say, what was that famous thing he said about there's 7 billion people on the planet, and that person now has done you a favor because now you can not waste time and move on to the whatever 6,900,000 whatever it is. He made a really good comment about that. But there will be times in your life where just no matter how good or nice you are to some people, they're just not going to like you. They might take advantage of you for a while if you let them, but you'll be scratching your head going, what? What was that all about? Bryan, be more consistent with going to the gym. I wish I stayed consistent with working out, and even more so that I didn't always turn to food when I was stressed out or depressed. That was always my go-to. I was never into drinking or recreational drugs. But that's a big one. Tied into that, I would tell my younger self, always stay on top of your health. Bryan, When you meet someone and they display really odd or unusual behavior, pay attention to that and just avoid them. Usually, any time in my life, when I let someone who was a little bit odd, had some odd behavior, come into my life, they were the ones that tended to cause the most chaos, drama, and problems. I would tell my younger self to say, if someone's acting weird or their behavior's a little odd, maybe there'll be more videos to come on this. I would probably be wary of them and don't be friends with them. Protect yourself. Bryan, just because someone's nice to you doesn't mean that they're your friend. I'm sure, being the naive guy I used to be, as I'm sure some of you have been as well, when someone's nice to you, not always, but usually it means that they want something. And you don't really realize that until later, especially if you're a good, kind-hearted person. Just because someone is nice to you doesn't mean that they are your friend, folks. Remember that. Bryan, learn how to step back from a situation and really think before jumping in or getting involved. This could be a business arrangement with somebody, investing money, a relationship, and even for me, having been a professional musician, getting involved with certain bands. I played in some wonderful bands, but some bands I look back and go, man, why did I waste my time with those guys? Bryan, having a big heart is great, but never ever have a big heart and be in a situation where you are burying yourself emotionally, financially, your dreams, and your goals. Friends, you guys know what I'm talking about. I know there's a lot of good people out there. Believe it or not, I can't even believe I'm saying that because I'm the guy that avoids people. But I'm sure many of you can relate to the fact that when you have a big heart, whether it's a friend or relationship, an acquaintance, and they come to you and they're having some problems, some of us just step in and try and help right away without stopping and thinking. Sometimes you have to step back and say, hey, you know what? That saying that I had to learn the hard way many, many times over the years. People with a lot of problems will try to make their problems your problems. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a time and a place sometimes to lend a helping hand and help out, but you have to do it protecting yourself. Bryan, whatever you do in life, whatever you do, never, ever, ever ignore your gut instinct. When it is going off and it's trying to warn you and tell you about red flags and warning signs, never, ever ignore it because you'll pay a big price. Always. Every time I did this in life, I paid a big price. Your gut instinct is like your spider sense. It's like your guided intuition trying to warn you. You get that weird feeling in your gut or your conscience saying, ugh. Anytime I've done that, it's gotten me into a lot of trouble in different ways. Never, ever, ever ignore your gut instinct. And the last one, and the most important one, cherish every moment you have with your parents. I know a lot of people have had toxic childhoods, but a lot of parents do try their best. And I remember with my parents, like the silly fights and the silly stuff that goes on, like some people, they don't talk to their parents or there's fighting and it's always over stupid shit. And when my father passed away 10 years ago, I was not ready for that. All of a sudden one day he was just gone. He was my go-to to sit down and listen to me when I needed to talk, needed to vent. He never judged me. And then he was gone. You will never, ever get your time back with your parents. My mother is still going. She is well into her 80s, although she'd be very upset if she knew I was telling people that. She looks very good for her age, but usually a day doesn't go by where I don't message her and tell her that I love her, I appreciate her, and I miss her. I am very scared of the day when the inevitable is going to happen and I'm going to have to deal with that. It's one of the toughest things ever. I would tell everybody out there, and especially my younger self, cherish every moment you have with your parents because when they're gone, it sucks. What do you guys think? I know many of you can probably relate to what I just said. These are 10 things that I would tell my younger self. Let me know what you think. Does this relate to any of you? Comment below. Let me know what you think. And this is Bryan, signing off.